Hello, this is Sarah Braasch. Welcome back to my channel. So today my video is going to be the video version of my blog post about how Pete Buttigieg's presidential campaign is over because he groveled at the feet of Michael Harriot of The Root after Harriot called Buttigieg a lying MF. So basically, Pete Buttigieg's 2020 presidential campaign is over. He made himself look like a weak and foolish loser by groveling at the feet of a man who had called him a lying MF, namely Michael Harriot of The Root. And of course, Michael Harriot is milking this for all it's worth. Harriot is playing this as if Pete Buttigieg has anointed him the Black Pope, capable of absolving evil white people's non-sins. White people is how Michael Harriot refers to white people in his racist, disgusting diatribes at The Root. Michael Harriot is acting as if all evil white people now need to seek absolution from his black holiness. I cannot believe that Pete Buttigieg was stupid enough to fall for this ruse. Here's the truth about Michael Harriot and The Root. Harriot couldn't care less about helping black people or anyone. Harriot is the racist, lying MF. Michael Harriot is only concerned about helping one person, Michael Harriot. What's my evidence? Harriot never met a race or hate crime hoax he didn't love. Harriot was perfectly happy to help burn the Living While Black movement to the ground for moral outrage industry money and gain by pushing obvious race and hate crime hoaxes, including, of course, the Napping While Black hate crime hoax at Yale University. Harriot was perfectly happy to destroy and endanger the life of an obviously innocent, lifelong human and civil rights licensed attorney activist, me, by trying to cyberbully her into suicide. It is perfectly obvious that Harriot couldn't care less about the Black social justice movement in the U.S. and that he is happy to watch it burn to the ground for moral outrage industry money and gain because Harriot was happy to abandon the foundational principle of Black Lives Matter and the entire Black social justice movement in the U.S., which is police accountability and transparency. Harriot's most recent attacks against me came after I attended the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act Commission's hearing to obtain the Yale police body cam footage from the Living or Napping While Black hate crime hoax that exposes Yale's gross malfeasance. Please understand this. Michael Harriot of The Root attacked me because I am demanding police accountability and transparency. Well, isn't this interesting? If this doesn't expose Harriot as a charlatan and a fraud, willing to do absolutely anything, including undermining Black Lives Matter and the Black social justice movement in the U.S. for moral outrage industry money and gain, then I don't know what would. If this doesn't prove that Harriot couldn't care less about the actual welfare of Black people in the U.S., then I don't know what would. I want Pete Buttigieg to understand something. When Michael Harriot used his platform on The Root to attack me for demanding police accountability and transparency, something that has been a not insignificant issue for Buttigieg, he told the most disgusting lies about me. Harriot used the most disgusting and bigoted and derogatory and misogynistic language to attack me for standing up for civil liberties, including due process and free speech, and for demanding police accountability and transparency, the cornerstone of the Black Lives Matter movement, Harriot actually called me a swamp twat. When Michael Harriot of The Root uses the most disgusting language to describe me, a lifelong and entirely innocent human and civil rights licensed attorney activist who had dedicated her life to fighting oppression in all of its many forms, including the use of a term that I had never heard before, swamp twat. I can hardly think of something more misogynistic and repulsive. Did I go to Michael Harriot of The Root and beg his forgiveness? Did I grovel at the feet of Michael Harriot of The Root as if he were the Black Pope granting me absolution for the sin of being a white woman? No, I absolutely did not. Apologizing never helps. It only makes things worse, as it did here when Pete Buttigieg apologized to Michael Harriot because Harriot called Buttigieg a lying MF. Someone needs to explain Jordan Peterson's #1 rule for dealing with online charlatans and frauds who try to mob or cancel someone or cyberbully someone into suicide. Never apologize. Michael Harriot of The Root used the most disgusting and bigoted and misogynistic and ableist language to attack me for demanding police accountability and transparency, demonstrates how woke intersectional feminism is bigotry and stupidity. How is it woke to attack someone for demanding police accountability and transparency? How is it woke to stigmatize mental illness? How is it woke to refer to an older woman with mental health disabilities and a lifelong civil rights activist as a swamp twat? How is it woke to attack someone demanding due process? Answer, it isn't, or at least it's woke, but it's also bigotry and stupidity. What kind of a man attacks a woman online and refers to her as a swamp twat? Answer, no man does this. Michael Harriot is no man. You know that Michael Harriot of The Root is a charlatan and a fraud when the racist liars on The View are singing his praises. The racist liars on The View, including Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin, are also charlatans and frauds who never met a race and hate crime hoax that they couldn't love and push, even at the cost of burning the living while Black movement to the ground for moral outrage, industry, money, and gain. I want to ask the women of ABC's The View if they seriously think it's okay for a man to refer to a woman as a swamp twat. Do they actually think that this is how a bona fide journalist or even a decent human being behaves? Nothing made me happier than listening to Joe Rogan drag the racist liars of ABC's The View hard on his recent podcast with Tulsi Gabbard. Pete Buttigieg needs desperately to listen to Tulsi Gabbard talk about how she deals with people who try to smear her with lies, including Hillary Clinton. She certainly does not apologize to her detractors. Tulsi Gabbard needs to teach Pete Buttigieg a thing or two about being strong in the face of disgusting lies. It just boggles the mind that Pete Buttigieg apologized to Michael Harriot of The Root. Absolutely boggles the mind. I think that there is simply no way that Buttigieg wins the nomination at this point. He made himself look weak and foolish. He allowed an obvious racist liar like Harriot paint him as a racist. He validated Harriot's ridiculous lies about him by calling him and apologizing to him. I greatly appreciated John McWhorter's piece in The Atlantic about Buttigieg apologizing to Harriot. McWhorter makes clear that any reasonable person can see Harriot was knowingly baiting Buttigieg and trying to provoke a reaction out of him. Buttigieg responded exactly as Harriot had hoped. Buttigieg validated Harriot's ridiculous statements and conferred moral authority upon Harriot. Now, Harriot thinks that all evil white people must appeal to his black holiness for absolution of their sins of being white people. Well, I will continue to emulate Tulsi Gabbard in this regard. I will continue to stand up to Michael Harriot of the Root. I will continue to expose him for what he is, a racist, liar, and fraud who couldn't care less about actually helping Black people or anyone. I do intend to return to making videos regularly, so make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Please follow me on Twitter and my blog. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for your support and kind words and donations. They mean everything to me. I will never stop fighting for justice for everyone who has been falsely accused and denied due process. We will restore civil liberties on college campuses, including Yale and everywhere. Thank you so much. And if you want to support me as I continue to fight for justice, I'm going to include my PayPal me and GoFundMe links below. Thank you. Have a great night.